Today we will be adding and subtracting fractions. So let's take a look at our first problem here, and it says 4/5 minus 3/4. So what I want to do is I want to find the lowest common denominator. But as I look at these numbers, here I've got 5 times 1 makes 5. Numbers that multiply to make 4 would be 2 and 2. So what I need to come up with for a lowest common denominator is one that has a 5, and then also one that has a 4 as a factor. And so I see that the 5 needs that extra 4, the 2 times the 2, where the 3/4 needs the 5 over 5 to make a common denominator of 20. And so now I've got 16/20, and I'm going to take away 15/20. And you see now how they both have the same denominator. So in that case, now we can compare them. And so you'll see how I can subtract them to get 1 over 20. That is our answer. Look at our next one. We see this one has a factor of 4, and this one has 15. Again, the 4 can break down to 2 and 2, but 2 is not even a factor of the 15. It has factors of 5 and 3. So the 4 here needs a 5 and a 3, so I'm going to end up having to multiply it by 15/15, where the 8/15 is going to need that 4. And so I'm going to multiply across, and this is what I get, 45 over 60, and then minus 32 over 60. So now I can compare them when they have the same denominator. So when I do that subtraction, I take 32 from 45. So all I'm doing is doing 45 minus 32, and when I do that work, I end up with a 13 over 60. And that's reduced. 13 and 60 have no common factors. Look at our next one. I see in this case I have a 4 and a 2 make 8, where here I just have a 2. And so what I need to do is just multiply this one side by 4, and then it will have the same factors as the left-hand side. So I'll just bring down that 3/8, and I'll add 4/8. So when I go ahead and add those two numbers, I end up with 7/8. And that's our answer. Same sort of thing on this next one. 25 would be 5 and 5 as factors. Well, here I just have one 5, so I need one extra 5. So I'll multiply by that 5 over 5. And now I've got still that 21/25, but now I have, instead of 2/5, it's the same as 10 over 25. See, these are equivalent fractions, just in a different form. So now I'm able to subtract because I have the same denominator. I can compare these two fractions, and I end up with 11 over 25. Same sort of thing on this next one, because 12 can be broken down to 6 times 2. So I already have that factor of 6. I just need that extra 2. So I multiply by 2 over 2. And so now I'll bring down that 11/12, and I'll add 10/12. And so when I add those two numbers together, that gives me 21/12. But that's an improper fraction, so we'll need to divide. So remember, the top dog goes in the doghouse. When I do the division, 12 goes into 21 one time. Do the subtraction, I'm left with a 9 left over. So I'll write the answer as 1 and 9/12. However, I'm still not done. 9/12 has common factors of 3. So I'll divide each of those by 3, and that leaves me with 1 and 3/4. So on this one, 6 and 15 do have a common factor. They both can be divided by 3. So let's go ahead and do that. Divide them both by 3, and we'll see what's left over. So what we have is the extra factor here of 5, and here we have one of 2. So what does the 6 need? Well, 6 has a 3 and a 2. 15 has a 3 and a 5. 6 needs a 5. Well, the 15 needs that 2, and then they'll have the same number of factors, the same exact factors. So now the top is 25, bottom's 30 for the first fraction. Here the numerator is 22, and the denominator is 30. See, now I can compare the two numbers. So I can add these two values together, and that gives me 47 over 30. Not done yet, though. It's an improper fraction. Let's go ahead and change that to a mixed number. Top dog in the doghouse. Divide 30 into 47 goes one time. Do the subtraction. We're left with 17. 17's a prime number. No common factors there, so we have 1 and 17/30. Next problem, similar in that sense, that we have a common factor. Now, not just 2, but look for the biggest one. 4 is the biggest factor between 8 and 12. So let's take out a 4, see what the other one needs. The 12 does not have a 3. The 8 does not have a 3. So we're going to take that and multiply it by 8. And the 12 is missing a 2, so we'll multiply it by 2/2. So now you see how they all have the same factors. 8 has a 4 and a 2, and now I multiplied it by a 3, so it has the same factors as the 12, the 4, the 3, and the 2. So I multiply across, I get 21/24, and then minus 10/24. So when I do the subtraction, that leaves me with 11/24. So taking a look at our next one here, we've got 10 and 6. I'm going to break those two numbers down. 2 and 5 multiply to make 10. 2 and 3 multiply to make the 6. So when I look at the factor that the other needs, I see 10 has the 2 and the 5, but it's missing the 3 that 6 has. So that's what I need to multiply it by. Where the 6 does not have the 5, so I need to multiply the right-hand side by 5/5. So when I do that, I multiply across, I get 27/30. And over on this side, I have 5 times 5 makes 25/30. So when I add those two numbers together, I end up with 52/30. Now, I'll go ahead and reduce this fraction, but first I'll go ahead and change it to a mixed number. So I'll divide the 30 into 52, and that just goes one time, with a total of 22 left over. So it's 1 and 22/30. So now I'll take that 1 and 22/30 and reduce this fraction. So I see that the 22 and the 30 both can be divided by 2. So when I take out that 2, that leaves me with 11, or 1 and 11/15. And that is our answer. Take a look at these two word problems. First one says the school track is 7/8 mile in length. And it says Sherry ran 2/3 of a mile. How much further does she have to go to be able to go all the way around the track? So it's 7/8 mile in length. She's already ran this 2/3 of a mile. So we want to find out how much further she needs to go. We need to take away. So if we take away the 2/3 from the 7/8, we'll be able to find out how much further she has to go. So we need to come up with that common denominator. 3 and 8 have no common factors, so let's multiply by the other's denominator. So we go ahead and do that work. Leaves us with 21/24. And then here, 2 times 8 makes 16/24. And so I'll go ahead and do that subtraction. She's got 5/24 of a mile left to go. Well, the next problem is a little bit different because it says the Millers budget 1/2 of their income for fixed expenses and 1/8 of their income for savings. What fraction of their income is left? Okay, so now we'll think of 1 as being the whole. This is their whole income right here. And so what we want to find out is how much left means we need to subtract to find out that. But we first need to combine the two amounts that we have. So we've got this 1/2, and we also have this 1/8. Now I need to add those two together first, and then subtract that sum from 1, which represents the total amount of their income. And so we'll go ahead and come up with that common denominator, and I see that if I could just multiply this 4 by 2, that'll make 8. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I am left with 4/8 plus the 1/8. So again, I still need to add those together, and that makes 5/8. So I need to take away that from 1. 1 represents like 100%. And 100%, if I wrote that in the decimal form, would just be 1. So that's why I'm using the number 1 here. And when we go ahead and come up with a common denominator for the 1/1, I need to multiply by 8/8. So now I just subtract 8/8, or 5/8 from 8/8, and that leaves me with 3/8. So 3/8 is the amount of income that is left over. So we'll actually write that down. 3/8 of their income is left. So we show that we understand what the problem was asking. Those are the types of problems that you're going to see on tonight's homework. Good luck.